How's it going, ladies and bruises? I'll be Sixkilla and welcome back to Head As Code. It is finally time for us to head down the light green path here towards victory, I suppose. The true ending, I'm assuming. I wonder if we can jump in from here. I'll jump in and I'll bring you back when we're about to put in the code. My lie. I thought about it, but I just couldn't figure it out. Until finally it struck me. A painful headache crept upon my head. It enraptured my brain and squeezed so hard I thought I was going to die. I dropped the remote onto the nearby table and fell down upon it. Oh, why? Why does it hurt so much? What the fuck? My hands closed into fists and I banged onto the table a few times. I banged with my fists on my forehead, with my whole body. The pain was excruciating. Someone help! I called for help in my head, knowing full well no one would answer. Several long minutes of this pain followed. It was as if my head was filled with a great deal of information. Too much, in fact. Many lifetimes worth, yeah. Finally it ceased. I breathed heavily, panting with any idea of what just transpired. However, something felt different now. This was like the time at the station. All my memories came back to me. I remembered everything. The letters, I know them. Finally, after I stabilized and stood back up to my feet, I entered the 5-letter password following the instructions on the remote. 5 letters were E-I-L-Y-M, and the reverse order was my lie. And that was it. As soon as I turned the remote to the reinforced door and pressed the send button, the way in was open. Very slowly the door creaked open. It looked supremely heavy when it was closed, but now, as it moved just enough to let me grab the side and pull it wide open, it looked older than anything else. Beside me, E was holding herself. As the movement of that door opened, it most likely sent off some intense vibrations through the ambient air. What's going on? What did we open? Alas, I couldn't answer her. Instead, I pulled her into the room, confident that I could finally prove my innocence. This would solve everything, I thought. Next to me, E wasn't quite in a state of panic yet, but she was clearly getting there. As we both stepped into this place, past the small scanners on the walls and ceilings. Are we outside? I wish I could see. Something about this struck me as odd. She could see, no? I knew it. She had eyes. This headset worked to rebuild her vision. It would be done very soon. If that was the case, then she'd finally be able to see soon. Why was she panicking? What is this? Where are we? We're not supposed to be here. E, please calm down. I knew it was useless to try, but I couldn't communicate with her otherwise. Instead, I reached for her arms to stop her. She was gesticulating, and any wrong movement could hurt her in this place. No. I want to see. Take this thing off. I need it off. I want to see. I knew the headset she had was almost done doing its job, but like this? It wouldn't finish. I tried to help her, but she shoved me away with remarkable strength. I hit the wall with a dull thud. Ugh. E, stop. I looked around the room in my daze. This place is a bit like some kind of escape room similar to those we had earlier. If he could calm down for 2 seconds, I might have been able to... this is wrong. This is all wrong. What is this? Why? No. What? I turned my head back to E, snapping to the source of the noise while quickly standing up. The sight that greeted me was so strange I couldn't move. E's skin was smooth. Smooth skin. I saw her smooth skin. At that moment, I saw that right in front of me. E had no eyes. Her skin was horrifically smooth, as if she never had eyes to begin with. A normal human face should have eyes, a nose, ears, and a mouth, but E was missing some. She had no eyes and she had no ears. She had no eyebrows. She was featureless. Not only was she missing some vital components to her anatomy, she was also aware of it. She panicked, terrified of herself. Her hands searched her face in vain. All she could find there was smooth skin. I also felt my face as a result, but I didn't share her situation. I can't see. I can't see. I can't see and I can't hear. That vision of horror cemented itself into my head. A few more seconds passed me by as I remained frozen, unable to think, unable to understand. What was happening to E? I tried looking away, but the more I tried to do so, the more I was glued to the sight. This was unnatural. This was inhuman. Time had come to a standstill as I stared, frozen in my inability to process what my eyes were seeing. What was this? As time passed, I wormed my way out of my stupor. Finally, my arms, which felt like lead before, were capable of moving again. I reached for her to try and help her, but she shoved me away again in panic. I landed against the machine with the switches, after which it took me a second to stand back up. At least, following that, E seemed to have calmed down. I looked at her again as I rose. She'd stopped gesticulating entirely, dormant against the wall, like a marionette with its strings cut. She didn't even seem to breathe anymore. E? Are you okay? I quickly lunged towards her. Oh, no. I had to do something about this, but what? What could have caused this? The strangest part was how she'd felt dormant right after shoving me. Did something happen in this room? I had to take a look around and help her promptly. I'd been so focused on helping E before that I hadn't noticed there was this strange machine in the middle. It was kind of like... It was like a large containment unit. As I approached it, I looked inside. There was someone. A person was floating in this vat. I didn't know who this was. Was this the 9th person? Was it one of the others? Who was it? It's Smiley. No, they wore a mask. I recognized it instantly. Smiley? This person held in suspension within the vat was Smiley. And it's obviously a girl, right? At least, that's what some of their attire suggested. None of this made any sense, however, as I had memories of one of the twins also wearing Smiley's helmet. Yet inside the vat there was a woman, not a little girl. I could tell by her general body shape. It was a grown female body, perhaps slightly old. There was no time to look at this for too long. I reminded myself I had to help E, and I also had to stop Agnos at his mad rampage. Ooh, here we go. The final escape room, presumably. We need to figure out who the hell this lady is. I took a moment to look at this vat. The person was still floating inside, attached with thick cables and tubes. Who was this exactly? They were a woman. Yes, they were. Wait. Jasmine? Is that you in there? I couldn't be sure yet. If it was Jasmine, then she'd grown older. That would make sense. I approached the machine in the back, the one that had a bunch of switches on it. I fell against it earlier when he pushed me aside. Bringing my attention back to the machine, I couldn't understand what these switches were all for. However, I realized one important thing. There were 9 switches. When I entered the room, 8 had been up and 1 had been down. Now a few of them were scrambled. Are these for our collars? Suddenly I felt like it wouldn't be a good idea to mess with them. What if it did even worse? What if it triggered the collars and we die? I didn't have a choice. I need to see what happens if I... But maybe I shouldn't. Yeah, don't. Really don't. Why would you even think about doing it? This is a notebook. There are a lot of pages with a bunch of useless stuff. It was talking about nomadics? That's what Marco was studying. What the hell was that? It had a bunch of footnotes about causality. Someone read about nomadics? Nomadics or applied nomadics is a field of study researching thoughts, what thoughts consist of, and the transfer of thoughts. By likening the human mind to a series of electric currents, wave signals, and a compression of readable data, it is possible in theory to recreate minds based on the exact brain patterns and memories. An individual is made from memories and experiences, which means if they were replicated to an exact degree, then the individual would exist twice as themselves. An outside piece of material is necessary for transplanting memories, but they are highly unstable. It is much safer to recreate events leading to a certain memory to make a stable memory. Most dangerous of all is the transmission of data by emission of waves. Any head that would come close to the waves would receive the memories, possibly mistaking them for visions. Wait, what does that mean? I'm trying to wrap my head around it. Does it mean that when I was having the visions, a thought flashed in my head? This did happen before, and not just once either. I remember when my head came close to Jasmine's for that kiss. I had visions of the train that I couldn't get rid of. They were haunting me in that moment. Could it be that those were fabricated somehow? A twin leaned forward over the counter to look at what Agnos was preparing. She suddenly started talking about a terrorist who'd planted bombs in the metro. Did something transmit that memory to her? And all the times I held E or supported E, I didn't feel like I could fully trust her. Was this also something that was being transmitted? The real question is, where are those transmissions coming from? I couldn't answer that. I needed more information. Sadly, as the pages went on, this became too confusing for me. I couldn't glean anything else from this. Does that mean that Smiley recreated these rooms and events specifically to recreate memories inside our heads, because it's not easy to just transplant them. You have to recreate them by making the people go through that shit. Sounds like a fucked up experiment to me. Causality footnotes. In accordance with the laws of causality, a cause must always have an effect. The reverse is also true, an effect must always have a cause. If nothing causes anything to happen, then nothing happens. That is why, in the event of an effect being observable first, all causes of it will be forced into existence. This is the anthropic principle. Because it was observed later, all that led to it exists. If an outside source came to witness some events, then other events would need to pave the way for said events to happen. As knowledge is impossible to unlearn, any witnessing would create it for all time. So it's saying because we're here now, other events needed to exist? Am I getting this right? This isn't helping me save E, but for some reason I couldn't deny the fact that this was somehow important. I mean, it's the same thing about the tree falling in the forest thing that Marco was talking about, right? Simon closed everything up and returned to the search of the room. In this box was a diary of some sort. There was no lock on it, as if it was inviting me to read it. But read which part? Oh, here we go. Get ready. Page 1. Dear Diary, I write to you today because I have no idea what I'm doing. I've enrolled in some school. It's the University of Montreal. All of this is very new to me. Hopefully I'll learn how to keep a diary, and I'll enjoy companionship as I was bid to do. Perhaps I'll even feel something. Page 2. Dear Diary, today I've managed to impress everybody with my prowess in computing equations, quantifying signals, and calibrating brainwaves in a theoretical field called pneumatics. So this is going to be Marco again. However, I'm still sad and lonely. Everybody admires me for my skills, and they say I'm a prodigy. I still feel nothing despite that, as if I'm cold and empty inside. Page 3. Dear Diary, a few men came to me today to offer me a job. They were so impressed with my prowess that they said they could bring me through a screening process. I'll come back in a week. Until then, they say I should prepare as much material as I can to prove myself in front of an entire board of directors. Is this stress? Here you go, you're feeling something. Dear Diary, today I managed to land a job. It's been a while since I wrote anything, but I wasn't sure if I had time. I'm now officially a part of... The part's completely crossed out. The empty S, presumably. 5 to 8. Dear Diary, the job I'm doing can be very taxing. I'm under strict contract and never reveal what I'm working on. Contract, sorry. But some of it makes me really wonder if this is the right way. They're paying me an outrageous amount of money though. I wonder what kind of rich person could even fund all this. Dear Diary, it's been a month since I last wrote. During this time, something magical happened. I'm sorry I couldn't write. I had a lot to focus on. What happened was that I met a boy. No, I just saw a boy, that's all. I didn't really meet him. I feel shyness. I feel butterflies. I don't know what this is. Something in me was interested. I don't know how to process this. I'll write more later. Page 7's been ripped out. Page 8 goes on as follows. Dear Diary, I did it. We finally created the first gem. It's code for gamma, and the rest is crossed out. Gamma emitting... something. Dear Diary, I renamed the gem to something that seemed more fitting. We're going to attempt putting someone's thoughts into it and see how it works. I hope this won't be a mistake. My attraction to the boy is growing stronger every day. I don't know why I feel this way. This isn't love, is it? Either way, he hasn't looked at me even once, like he doesn't even notice me. Dear Diary, the experiment failed. The Emily didn't function properly. Emily? E-M-I. That's what those my lie is also an anagram of Emily. I think this is going to take me a lifetime to get right, to make fully functional replicants. Despite that, I've vowed I'll succeed. Soon we'll be able to keep people alive for centuries without degradation, and then we'll be able to move forward like never before. So this is either Marco or Jasmine's diary, right? I guess it must be Jasmine, who is in the tank, the original Jasmine. Dear Diary, I'm bad. Nothing is currently right. I've been chosen to oversee this. I don't know what to do. At first I was glad, but now that I've learned what it is, I don't want to do it. If I don't do it though, he's gonna die. Why was he chosen too? The boy I like. He was chosen to be put in this. What do I do? I don't want to lose this job, but I also don't want to lose him. I don't have a choice. I need to oversee this. I need to save him. Hopefully my precautions will prevent me from dying. But if I do die, then the entries end here. Whoever that boy is, he sure is misfortunate. It is us, right? It's gotta be. Simon closed everything up and returned to the search of the room. I hesitated, took a deep breath, and then made up my mind. I didn't have any choice. Nothing else in this room was helpful in any capacity. Well, here goes. I flipped one of the switches to the other side. It was the fourth one. Nothing happened. Fuck, if anything happened to Agnos's collar, I can't know like this. Wait, there are 9 switches. 8 of them were switched to what I assume is on. So, what's going on with the 9th? Why is it off? If nothing bad happened to our collars when they were on, then most likely nothing bad would happen if I switched the 9th one to on as well. I took the plunge and did it. Right away I could tell the change was coming from the vat in the middle of the room. It was, to put it simply, draining away. So they're the switches that activate the tubes. The first 8 were to get us out, and the 9th one's to get this person out. As it did, the person inside moved slightly. I watched in awe. The woman inside of the vat slowly removed all the tubes connecting her to it, and when the water was low enough, she took off the helmet she wore. What's going on? Who are you? I asked as the glass separated us. It was an old woman, just as I surmised. The glass lowered enough to let her step through, which she did momentarily. It's gotta be Jasmine. I backed away to give her some space. With Smiley's mask, I hadn't been able to tell who it was, but without it, she looked somewhat familiar, and she looked very old. She must have been at least 90 years old, if not even older than that. So, it has come to this. I sensed no hostility from her. She looked very sad, though. I caught the glance she gave towards E's body. Wait, are you... The question hung on my lips, and I couldn't finish it. She patiently waited for me to do so. But seeing as I couldn't, she chuckled. Let me catch my breath first. It's been so long, after all. Moving after being in suspension for this long is very difficult. The voice that came from her had a low tone, but I could feel as if it was kind of melodious and pleasant. She pulled a chair from under a nearby table and sat down in front of me. What's going on here? Why does E not have eyes and you... Who are you exactly? Are you Smiley? She chuckled at that. Her manners could use some polish. I wonder about that now too. I am indeed Smiley, but... No, that's not quite right. Without S, I am only Emily. E. You're E. That's what E stands for, right? Emily. My full name is Emily Fiction. It's not my real name, but that is because I have no name. This is the name I gave myself. It is as good as any, I hope. Emily? I didn't know anyone named Emily. Wait. Now that I had a good look at her, I realized what felt familiar before. I took a glance at E's body. No, not Emily's body. E's body. Was this body, which didn't move anymore, Emily's body too? I could tell her face was similar, even without the eyes. Her hair was arranged similarly as well. That is correct. I am Emily, and she is Emily. Both of us are one and the same. Although, that part is not entirely correct. She is an Emily of Emily. Emily stands for Electro-Autonomous Memory-Driven Informal Library, which gives Emily the Emily acronym, named after myself, their developer. She sighed wistfully, shaking her head. But one thing at a time. We have many topics to cover now that we are here. I am sure you have read my notes and my diary. Sneaky boy. I nodded, remaining silent, unsure of what I should have said, if anything. Instead, I let her talk to avoid her getting confused in her explanations. It is your final chance to think about everything before I say my piece, so take it now or proceed. I'll let you choose the order in which I explain it all. I can talk about myself, or about you and the other participants, and then I'll finish up with this entire event's ordeal. I quickly made up my mind on what we'd talk about first. About you, Emily? I want to know more about you. Oh ho ho! Such a thing pleases me greatly. Although I suppose it was preordained I would eventually talk about me, my motivation, and why I am... Smiley. Although I suppose that's incorrect. Without S, I am only... Miley, or Emily. Oh yeah. So Miley is also an acronym of Emily. And we're S. It is our connection that created this entire thing after all. It is because I was stupid. I wanted everything, I was greedy. I used to be a normal person, as normal as I could force myself to be, and I used to frequent the University of Montreal so long ago now. I studied in applied nomadics, which allowed me to manipulate thoughts and such. Yes, that diary is mine. I'm sure you don't need me to tell you a lot about that, but I can give context. The organization that contacted me is called the MTS. They are horrible, horrible people who do human experiments. I had no idea what I'd gotten myself into for the longest time, so I worked for them. I built various technological advances while furthering my studies. One day I met you, Simon. You did not see me, and in fact, you never so much as looked at me. But as I said, I wasn't normal. I don't have feelings. I wanted them, but I never had them. I was not good with human relations in general, so I've never felt compelled to approach. I was fine just looking from afar. Unfortunately, that was a mistake. As was continuing work with the MTS, mind you. Eventually, they wanted to host this event, and I was the best candidate for it, and so I became Smiley. I learned you, of all people, would be participating in it, and so I wanted to save you. I wanted to save you, and I also wanted to create an unbreakable bond between us. Such an experience would be something no other people could ever share. I wanted to create it. I wanted to create love. I wanted it to no longer be so unrequited. I didn't know how to take this. Was this some sort of weird declaration of love? From an old woman? Oh, perhaps I was a little too prejudiced to think badly of it, but I wanted to stop it. But I couldn't. So instead I tried creating loopholes and a way out. Because if it wasn't for me, everyone would have died, executed as part of the process. Even though I failed, hopefully you can find it in you to forgive me. We'll see about that. I took a pause before we continued talking. Ask about the others? Yeah, I have some questions about that. Why us? Why choose all of us? Oh, this is a little complicated. First of all, you may need to understand that we chose our subjects very carefully. I suppose I can go in order of number. G, as you call her, was chosen simply because she came as a pair with her twin, Hannah. She'd also been involved in the replacement of her sister under observation. You were chosen because somehow the MTS were aware of my attraction to you. They didn't want me to start doing something stupid, so they chose you as some sort of punishment or point of focus for me. I never wanted you to have been chosen, let me establish that. If I'd gotten my way, none of this would ever have happened. Marco was chosen because he was also a student in applied pneumatics, but he knew of the MTS the same way I knew of them. And he was opposed to what they were doing. He was dangerous, they said. I don't see it. Agados was chosen because he had betrayed them before. The MTS held an experiment in which his wife was killed, and as a result he defected, only to reintegrate the ranks. However, he no longer held the esteemed position he once had. Instead, he became a part of the cleanup crew. After the debacle in New York, he was reassigned here, but unbeknownst to him, he was to be killed off in this place. Hannah was chosen because she is one of the very first Gamma X machine Machinas, or gems, which I renamed Emily's. She was used in an experiment to measure the link between twins. G never learned her sister was a fake. Ray was chosen because he got too close to the MTS. He took a brain scan somewhere, then the MTS contacted him to help him with some sort of cure. I don't know any of the details beyond that much, but that was apparently enough for them. Maybe the medicine he had was experimental in some way. Myself, should be obvious. I looked at the motionless body. So you controlled your Emily remotely. Oh no, this is quite literally me. Remember, they are autonomous, Simon. Anyway, finally, Jasmine. Obviously, she isn't the real Jasmine. It was another half-out experiment where they turned someone into a completely different person. Hannah, the real one, was heavily injected and rebuilt to become Jasmine herself. That one I had no hand in. It seems very atrocious. She closed her fists, somewhat angry. I shared the same emotion, but it was also liberating? Yes, this meant the real Jasmine was still fine. Of course, I already remembered this. Anyway, about the entire experiment, she took a brief pause and gave me the opportunity to glance over at E. Was she never to move again? My thoughts were interrupted when Emily spoke anew. On April 22nd, 2022, all eight of us were prepared and brought to this underground facility. They internally called it the Tower of Rebirth, even if it's deep below the surface. The goal was simple: create a situation that would bring an external observer to this world and retroactively give birth to it. As you've no doubt browsed in my notes, you must be aware of the perception of existence. By bringing an outside observer, or God as the MTS calls it, then we would create this world by retroactively bringing every element needed for its construction. That is the anthropic principle. It says that the world is as it is now because if it wasn't, then it wouldn't be. That means the necessary component for this world to exist was for this experiment to take place. Hold up, what? That doesn't make any sense. It is a reverse cause to effect. By creating the effect, which was this experiment, we gave birth to the world, which was the cause leading up to it. But that's not how it works. You need the cause to make the effect happen. Do you? If you have the effect, then the cause is a necessary element for it to happen. Well, whatever. I'm getting confused. Please continue. No, actually, don't continue, because I'm getting confused. Right. I'll leave the specifics to the theory crafters. So anyway, in this experiment, everyone was adorned with a collar. They are what had been selected to be the transmitters. Those collars contain every single bit of the memory you remember. When affixed to a human body, they transmit false memories, such as you being in the metro with Jasmine and Marco. That was a fake memory being transmitted to your brain every time you woke up, at the very beginning alongside Jasmine. In the same order of idea, fake memories had been transmitted to everyone before they woke up too. For instance, Marco's opposition to the MDS was suppressed and instead he started sharing in their doctrine. He inexplicably believed in God. Agnos was given the knowledge to create explosives, as before he'd only used pre-made ones. Hannah forgot her school life and those memories were falsified, which really changed how she remembered her time there. She forgot her entire circle of friends. I was made to forget I was the mastermind behind all this. That was a grave problem and it ultimately led to carnage. I wish I could take it back so badly. Either way, the collars functioned well, but they were imperfect. Thankfully, it played into my hands until Agnos decided to destroy everything. I still can't fathom what went through his head. The collars are not stable, which may explain why he behaved like that. When they create conflicts in the mind, they can grow like a mental tumor that erodes your sanity. You may have seen this happen a few times, and perhaps also been subjected to it, when memories didn't match up with what you previously thought you saw. I remember, that's what causes the headaches. Right, that time with Jasmine. No, those times. It happened more than once. Precisely. The carnage that followed sadly robbed every person of their lives, including you. You were beheaded. I still, to this day, have a vivid memory of that moment, and it haunts my nightmares. Following your beheading, I had no choice. I remade it all. I squinted in suspicion. What did you mean by that? It took me many years. In fact, if I'm this old, it is because I've spent my whole life researching in the field of nomadics until I could create perfect replicas of a human. Of course, their interior is still robotic, as if they are strange, fleshy robot hybrids. You mean androids? But these are the Emilys you see now. She motioned towards Eve. I recreated all 8 of you to rebuild the memories of this place. For your particular case, I used your head as code. But why? It's simple, Simon. I wanted to see you again. Can you fault me? I wanted to see you again. I wanted you to forgive me. I wanted to absolve myself, but I never managed to replicate you perfectly. The you who had gone through the first one. The one I called Ending A. The one that got beheaded. The one that saved me. The one that was so courageous despite all that. So that was the real us. Ending A, the one that led to Ending A, was the human version of us, and now we're the robot version of us that she recreated because she was felt so guilty because we got killed in her stupid fucking game. I see. So we weren't always a robot in this game. Currently we're in Ending S. I wanted to give you another chance. Alas, that had been the goal at first, but the MTS collapsed shortly after Agnos destroyed the metro. It was impossible to bury the event and the police arrested everyone and dismantled everything. But I was never found. I was declared legally dead, along with all of us, who were buried in the tower's complete wreckage. But I had time, and so I spent my entire life researching nomadics here, rebuilding this entire place. I do not intend to hide my crimes. However, you also have to understand. She looked at her hands for a moment. I didn't have a choice either. This needed a happy ending, somehow. I don't know if I'd call this a happy ending. God wouldn't let me. What do you mean? Remember when I said the effect can be created before the cause? It's like that. God is here. God is watching us. God is tricking me into making more and more. But just like God is tricking me, I'm tricking God. This entire time, the fact it was a repeated event, the fact that it looked like you were making choices, the fact that it was all built this way. I made slight modifications and recalibrations to your brain, and to others' brains, to hopefully reach this Ending A again. But it was never quite right, so I needed more time. I made it look like everything was just one path that changed based on what you believed. In reality, I was tricking God because I needed more time. Just as God tricked me because God wanted to see the true end. Because we're God. as the player. We're God. We're the observer. I had to program all of these choices in your head. When you felt like something wasn't exactly your choice, it's because I had to change your beliefs to try and attain that ending again. But anyway, I failed. I didn't manage to do it. As evidenced by your presence here and the fact that I'm now opening my heart, I have failed. Still, I do have more to say about this. This woman was insane. I couldn't believe what she was explaining to me. God? Choices? Calibration? My head used as code? Code for what? Myself? Most likely. Okay, hold on. This is a joke, right? This doesn't make any sense. It does, Simon. Many people believe the world works in timelines, that out there's another timeline where everyone's happier, or worse off. It is comforting to know that you are not doing so bad after all. The truth is that there has never been concrete proof of that. The fact that I've repeated this event not once, not twice, but 18 times now is proof of the opposite. And I, stuck in this place, am the monkey eternally typing on the strings of fate to replicate an event that shouldn't have existed in the first place. And do you know what that makes it? No. I don't know. You know about Schrodinger's cat, right? You can't know the outcome until it's witnessed. Well, imagine the reverse. What if you were in the box? What if you died? You wouldn't be able to see the outcome, right? But the outcome existed. God witnessed this moment. Means the effect exists. And so, I couldn't have died because I wanted to be the one God watching everything through. An observer outside of our enclosed universe would only see the world when a good ending had been reached. So I couldn't die. That is why I blindfolded myself. I cut off my hearing. I had minimal senses. Because if I removed them all, then the only thing God could witness was the absolute good end. The ending I was yearning for. The ending in which you were alive, I was alive. In which we integrated society. Left all of this behind us and lived happily together. Because I loved you, Simon. But I suppose this doesn't matter now. In the end, I fucked up. She cringed as she swore, as if it was difficult for her. For whatever reason I could hardly understand, God chose to witness this world through you. Why? I don't know. But because that was the case, all of that setup was for naught. And so, the vision from inside the box always leads to two outcomes. Just as the cat dies or lives, and how both outcomes exist, there is quantum suicide and quantum immortality. I was not allowed to die because there had to be more story. There had to be more of this to reach this point. Do you understand better now? Not really. I don't want to downplay your explanation, but this is impossible to prove. This God business, this witnessing that, the anthropomorphic principle, whatever all this is, it doesn't make any goddamn sense. But it does, Simon. This is how the world works, and I hate it, and I'm sure you hate it too. Then explain to me how and where we were remade 18 fucking times. The reactor. You've witnessed it once, haven't you? The reactor contains all of you. All of your Emily slowly maturing over 12 years. Every time, every attempt to replicate ending A, you are matured over 12 years. 12 years? Yes. It's a long and laborious process. These are the latest versions of Emily's, and they are the most sophisticated of the lot. They are not alpha prototypes or beta constructs. They are full and complex. Wait. So, 12 years... I'll save you the maths. 12 times 18. But I also have to add the lifetime of research I needed. I felt sick. How much? How much time had passed since ending A? Since the real Simon had died? It has been 288 years since you first woke up in the metro, Simon. This is the year 2310. Almost 300 years had passed since I first woke up. Instantly I felt defeated. Despair ran through my body as I took in the information. Everyone I know is gone. I fell down onto my knees, then onto my hands too. I couldn't handle the truth. The world became a twisted swirl of nothingness. Everyone I knew was gone, forever. I would never see them again. The real Jasmine was dead. Micah was dead from ending A too. The real us, even the real me. Everyone's dead. This is just a mockery of life. No. This is life, Simon. This is our life. Androids and humans. Oh, bullshit. Androids can be their own selves. I'm just myself. I'm not myself. I'm myself, but not myself. I'm not myself. I'm a copy. I'm not me. I looked at my hands and clenched my teeth. The old woman delicately reached forward to grab one of them and pulled me up to my feet again. I think we should go see something. Come with me. I felt so defeated I didn't even protest. The old woman guided me out. We were going out to the apocalyptic hellscape. I lost track of where we went after that. We fetched a key with a loop that looked like the number 8 from Agnos's immobile body. He'd been turned off from the machine. That's how I knew. What Emily said was true. I was an android. I knew that already, didn't I? That's why when I died, I was turned off and there was darkness. I had died 18 times. 19, actually. No, wait. That wasn't true, was it? My sight came back to me as I rectified my posture. We were in the elevator going upwards. Hold on, Emily. I haven't died every time, have I? We're almost there. And what about you? How are you still alive after 300 years have passed? 288 years to be exact, Simon. There are multiple types of vats, not just the ones used to grow Emily's. I remained alive because I have kept myself in suspension within the vat in the special laboratory storage room. Thankfully, I still had beta Emily's to use to repair, rebuild, and reorganize this place automatically every time. In the theater, those robots you touched, they were an army of very early prototypes. They were the ones who did most of the work, but a lot of them eventually failed, and I had to keep newer versions. That is why you may have seen a twin without their collar in the security room. Wait, why does she not have a collar though? It's because the collars have your entire personality, Simon. Your memories are constantly being broadcast to your body. As an Emily, without those, you're no better a robot without any thought, an automaton. So I touched the collar. This thing I wore that could kill me, that could end me, was me. When I was beheaded then, I didn't die because my head was cut off, it was because the collar shut down. That's why when someone died, we could take them off. The collars were shut down. I clenched my teeth. Why did everything make sense? I wished it didn't, because if it didn't make sense, then it could have been a nightmare and I could have woken up from. But this was no nightmare. I wouldn't wake up from it. This was real. The elevator stopped. We left it and walked out into the darkness. After a long walk, we emerged outside. I understood why Emily was so insistent for me to come outside following the question of my deaths. Outside was calm. It was an island, or on the island again. Deserted, no doubt, but not too deserted as in the distance I could spy some kind of house. Oh, is this... Oh my god, is the Simon and Emily that escaped onto the island? Are they still here? That was Dick Simon, though, when I was being a dick. It was entirely made of wood and looked like a comical log cabin. What is this? This is what Simon 17 and Emily 17 have made, Simon. Simon 17? Your other self, the one who escaped before. He's done so by confronting Agnos and pulling Emily along with him to pass through one of the scanner gates. You have managed to escape twice during this entire ordeal. Once you did so, but you arrived in a ruined world about 100 years after ending A. Then you escaped again, this time on this island 24 years ago. Alas, if it was so easy to accept that this is the right ending. But it wasn't the right replicated path. Yet, I came to understand from it that it might be the closest one to what I needed. And so I decided to shut down the experiment to prepare the duo for my speech, as I planned to tell them at that exact time, but first I had to do modifications. I took Emily 17 back in, installed eyes and ears upon her, and... Oh right, why'd you do that? Why couldn't you leave your other self their senses? Because if I did, there would be no difference. You know how the endings work, right? When I end the experiment, it takes all the events that happened and assigns it a letter. As much as I wanted to replicate you exactly as you were, I couldn't. Because if I did the exact same setup, then God would end up in ending A all over again, which results in your death and my unfortunate survival. Despite that, I replicated everything as best as I could have. The guns, the knives, the rooms, everything was put back as it should have been, as long as I could do so. Your little trick hid a gun away for the longest time, and I never even ever found that gun again until you took it out. I decided that one gun would have been fine anyway. I made a major change to separate every experiment from this one by removing my own senses. Since I wasn't using them during the experiments, in the distance I saw myself. That was Simon 17. Next to him was a girl. Emily 17. What the... Hey, Emily! Look at this! My other self called from afar. I stared over almost longingly at the happier life he seemed to be leading with Emily 17. I was jealous of myself. The two of them joined us after rushing over. Simon 17 seemed all the more surprised from not only seeing me, but also seeing Emily too. I didn't think I'd see you again. I was just showing Simon 19 around here for a bit. Simon 19? So this has gone on again for another 2 experiments? You said you'd stop everything, didn't you? But then we didn't see you again. Yes, I said that, but I had to change my mind because... Because what? I had to know. No matter. Either way, I was just showing Simon 19 around. Do you have anything you want to say to each other? Well, just so you can see, there's not much left of Montreal. He motioned with his arms around. Apparently a flood took the world by storm, and due to global warming, everything is now underwater. This is the very top of Mount Royal, the mountain in the middle of Montreal. And so it goes. Sorry, I'll avoid being a defeatist again. It's okay. I'm still coming to terms with everything that's happened. It's very hard to imagine I'd ever spoken with myself. Yourself from 24 years in the future too. A lot of time has passed, huh? And yet you're barely aging. Emily was looking at us. That's because Emily's aged very, very slowly. It was one of the main parts of the GEM project. Gamma X Machinas were supposed to withstand dozens upon dozens of years of deterioration. I estimate Emily's lifespan is somewhere in the range of 200 to 300 years. Plenty of time to get this island under control. Oh, don't say it like that. Either way, our business is more or less concluded here. Huh? We're going back in? Yes. I'd like to stay here too, but this seems to be our doubles paradise, so I don't want to intrude. And besides, I belong to another era. Before we go, I have a question. This time Emily 17 was the one who wanted to take it. What is it? Are you two happy? Yes. We're as carefree as the wind. Even if it's just been one long dream. We don't really need to eat, but we do have to do maintenance, and that's not always pleasant. And so long as you continue living here, no one will disturb you. It is, as I say, paradise, even if it will probably end someday. We waved to each other. This lifted my spirits, to be honest. I was a little happier despite the horrible situation everyone went through. And then after our goodbyes were given, we went back underground. Emily had one last thing to talk to me about before... what? I didn't know what would come after yet. I was wondering about that. So here we stand. The experiment hasn't really succeeded, and I know I'm too old to continue. I'll definitely expire soon, and not even God witnessing the world can stop that now. I don't have a lot of these attempts left in me, but I still have enough to repeat the experiment again. What? Why would you do that? So more people can die? A flash of thought passed me by. Not only that, but I clearly remember Jasmine and Hannah escaping together before. They left the underground, no? Their collars made 9 together. That meant they could have passed the scanner gate. Yet I hadn't seen them on the surface. Don't get me wrong, Simon. I'm willing to leave Simon 17 and Emily 17 their paradise, but I'm not done here. The experiment needs to replicate the exact way it should have. And did anyone else make it out there? The experiment I replicated was made to let us both escape, and no one else, as the original experiment did. I felt a cold touch on my back. That meant Jasmine and Hannah, when they escaped, they didn't? All of that and they weren't allowed this paradise? And why did you not change that? Why was it that you only changed E's senses? I couldn't risk it. I even left many hints that our 2 collars would let us get out to ensure we would be the only ones to make it. There was a puzzle in the infirmary that was blue and red. What does that have to do with anything? It was supposed to illustrate the combination of 2 to make a third thing. Do you remember the special note and what it said? It was, "None smile within my mask." And it was not a mistake. It is an anagram. It says, Simon with Emily makes 9. Nobody's going to decipher that. But the trail was there, Simon. Either way, you lack the memories that make up Simon. You need to be restored to your exact self from ending A. So I'll let you be activated for a while longer to make peace with your situation. Then I will launch an automated program and have the old Emilys restore this place for Simon 20 to go. I can't. No, you're wrong about this. I can't do that. I can't repeat this cycle of death. She smiled sadly. Don't worry, Simon 19. I'll be in suspension for 12 years and you'll be allowed to undertake the experiment again until you're restored to your real self. I'm myself right now. I remember it. I remember the collapse. I remember the elevator falling and me dying. And you know what? I pointed at her accusingly. Because of what you did, I remember more too. I remember when I died after Agnos killed you. I remember when I died after uncovering the vats in the reactor. I remember everything. Every single death. I remember all of them. All of this pain. All of this suffering. I remember everything you put me through. Memories make the person. I'm more myself than I could ever be because I went through this bullshit close to 20 times and I remember all of it. That can't be possible. Memory shouldn't transfer across attempts like that. It makes you complete but also very strange. Suddenly she lit up as if figuring something out. I see, so that's how it is. Because God is using you as a vessel. God is actually transporting the memories, the information. Thank you. Is this something that can happen? I never even considered that. It would have saved so much trouble. She sighed, looking older than ever and decidedly apologetic about the situation. I cannot undo those, but I suppose perhaps it's timely. She looked more solemn all of a sudden. You sacrificed yourself to save an idiotic girl almost 300 years ago, and for that I will eternally be grateful. You chose to do so on your own. I am old. I am tired. I have changed so much, and yet I still yearn for your forgiveness. All I work towards now is to finally die in peace. To let go of everything in one final note. Will you forgive my mistakes? My lies? Will you forgive me? No, fuck you. No. Something tugged at my head. I didn't care. This was my decision. God, or whatever the fuck you are. This was mine and not yours, and no one else's. It wasn't programmed by Emily. It was mine. I can't forgive you. Does that mean if I said yes, he would still say no because he's going against what I'm telling him? I'm gonna have to try that later. I can't forgive you. After all that suffering, only my other self is allowed to have a happy end. And out of all of us, just one? One Emily? One? I can't forgive that. The twins, Hannah and her sister? What of them and their future? Emily froze, visibly struggling with her inner demons. She waited for a few moments, closed her eyes and exhaled. I'd never seen her this tired before. I see. Very well then, if that is your choice. She walked out of the lobby. Hey, where are you going? I followed after her. I'll go back to the vats and restart everything as I was planning to do. What? Why? You can't accept my choice? I will do it until one of you forgives me. I've sacrificed far too much for this to fail. For this to end that way. I will repeat it until one of you grants me peace. None of us are going to forgive you, you asshole. Wait, is that why... I remembered my other self's words. She said she would have stopped 24 years ago, and yet here we are. Was this because... Did my other self also decide not to forgive you? Yes. It is too much. To toil so hard my entire life. So you can't accept it then. You can't accept my choice. Not God's choice, not your choice, or whatever the fuck. It's mine, and you can't accept it? And you still call yourself worthy of forgiveness? What are you going to do about it? You're a machine. You're bound by the laws of robotics. It cannot stop me if I choose to continue. Now that I know how I have to reprogram next time, this is the choice I have to redo. I will give you an option here, and then you will pick forgiveness. After all of this, after this entire experiment, to not be forgiven, for this story to not have a happy ending on some degree, I cannot bear it. She suddenly coughed and fell down to the ground. I hesitated, unsure of what she was playing at, until I realized she truly couldn't get back up. I at least helped her sit up against the wall, so we could be on eye level. I can't make it anymore. I'm too old. I'll break down very soon. I couldn't do it in the end. I failed, and now I will end. Please, bring me to the vat. I can't do this, Emily. I can't let you do this. I won't let you redo this, Emily. There was a light strain on me, as if my programming was trying to make me obey the laws of robotics. By an action I would invoke pain upon her. It's over. You can rest now. I can't forgive you, but I won't let this happen. All I wanted in the end was to get your forgiveness. Can't you let me go in peace? Please grant me this one final thing. The more she asked me to forgive her, the more I couldn't. I still remembered Hannah and Jasmine and their struggles and my struggles. I remembered how she continued despite giving my previous self a happy end just because he couldn't bring himself to forgive her. Everyone was still dead as well. Jasmine might have died of old age, wondering her whole life where I disappeared to. I could never have brought her any news. Emily had also dragged Marco into this mess. And he even died due to her too. It had been close to 300 years. This old woman, this lunatic, was she really E? So much time has passed since ending A. You've changed a lot. You became someone else entirely. For the sin of repeating this, for your own greed, I can't forgive you. But because of your younger self, still tried to do all she could, despite the organization's looming presence, and she almost succeeded in at least saving me. I will forgive you. The you from 288 years ago. I will forgive E. She gave a weak smile, and yet it was enough to make her look so much younger. At that moment I felt like I was with the girl I'd saved, with E. That's good enough. I spent my entire life to atone for this moment, and now it's you. It's your choice what happens with this place. Maybe I was mistaken, but I... She coughed again, her eyes widening in surprise. She tried to say something else, but she couldn't. Instead, she lifted her hand and did her best to reach my face. Before she managed to touch it, she fell back down, immobile, dead. Emily had drawn her last breath and now it was over. I remained there with her lifeless body for a long time. I didn't know what to think. I didn't want to disturb the couple on the surface, as I too, in a way, wanted to have a happy ending. But a happy ending was also a fake one. The 24 years they spent together was their paradise, as Emily put it. It was also a long dream, and if they had to wake up from it, then so be it. I went back up the stairs. I told them all about the fact that something might happen soon, to be ready just in case they had to bunker up. The both of them understood, even if I didn't tell them specifics. I didn't even tell them Emily died either. They were wiser than I anticipated, and they accepted that this could be the end. Once those preparations were complete, I went back underground. I wandered to the laboratory storage. I took E's collar with me and reactivated it. Away from her body, it didn't wake up. I wanted to carry what had E in it, and so I took her with me. Armed with E's collar, I reactivated the reactor room and carried Emily, the old woman's body, inside with me. Since I carried E's collar with me, the door shut behind me when I entered the room. I climbed up the stairs and sat on the ground with E's collar and Emily's body next to me. And then I waited. Smiley appeared to me. I see you've arrived at this room. Unfortunately, I must inform you that this room is a dead end in a matter of speaking. It will not be one for everyone, however. Before I explain that part, I'll tell you a story. It is directly correlating to some of your presences here. There was this girl who had done terrible things a long time ago. She, as a result, was taken by an organization for their human experiments. What she did was terrible, but what those people did was even worse. The girl's sins were to join them in looking for both fortune and a stable life, but the biggest sin of all was how she remained closed off, unable to communicate with others clearly. She was entirely deaf to the plight of her own feelings, and blind to the feelings of others. The situation is a direct result of that, and now, this is the reason why this room is a dead end. The reactor has been set to overheat within 10 minutes. Make no mistakes, this reactor could completely destroy every station here. It's an extremely powerful power generator that, on its own, could give energy to the entire city. While it is not nuclear energy, it is something somewhat close. Anyone can stop it by pushing a button to close the reactor. It is sad to point out, but the button is inside the contraption, and pressing it will close the door behind the person. That means that whoever presses the button will be trapped within while it stabilizes, resulting in their end. The only question you both should be thinking about for the next 10 minutes is, who will make the sacrifice? This time there would be no sacrifice. Where before I had died, before Hannah had died, and where most likely countless Marcos, Jasmines and others had died too, I waited. I watched as the screen turned off and the minutes counted down. The reactor was activating. I could have stepped in to die and stop it. I didn't. Did I think there'd be no sacrifice? Oh no. There would be a sacrifice. In fact, there would be 3 sacrifices. Emily and I would be the sacrifices, along with her younger, more naive self. Together, all 3 of us would be here when it ended. I closed my eyes, awaiting my fate in utter darkness one final time. What do you think, God? Am I alive or dead? Are you alive or dead? Don't ask me. Ending S. Code true end. We did it. Simon's long trip from ending A to S has finally reached its conclusion, and now God can also rest with the true ending. Thanks. I will. That was fantastic. I did not see most of that coming, to be honest, but that was brilliant. Loved it. Whew. What a great story. I really like the way the flowchart was laid out. Plus, I didn't have to do any real puzzles, so that was pretty chill. Thanks. Usually I'm used to doing those nasty puzzles, but we are going to be going back to do the new rewritten ending for Birth Me Code shortly as well, which I'll tack on to the end of that playlist. But that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed the series. I loved it so much. Thank you for watching. Thanks Moon for the game and for making such fun, fucking fantastic stories. I'll let the credits finish up. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one.